India is it's a growing country. We've got almost 7% rate of growth, and that's resulted in a lot of tax buoyancy for government. And there are many areas in which government is breaking fresh ground, whether it's in infrastructure or social protection. In all these areas, evidence is very important. What works, for example, in poverty reduction, or what works in social pensions. For example, at today's conference, we heard the adverse impact of rental subsidy in France. It was simply pushing up prices. So, for example, we have a massive housing for all program. We want to understand what are the pernicious effects of the way we are doing that, if at all, is one example in social protection. In infrastructure, we have large contracting problems. How do we build huge road projects, airport projects? Are there pieces of evidence that we can use to be able to nudge greater productivity, better bang for the buck in the investments that we make? So as a growing economy with tax buoyancy, there are so many areas in which we want to intervene. So the list is almost infinite. Some of the challenges are the fact that the Indian government does not, although we've had a planning commission, a lot of studies and research that's been commissioned, but the link between research and evidence and programming has not been very strong in India in the past. And most of it has been driven by intuition, the administrator's understanding of what works or the politician's understanding of what works. Increasingly, we are now finding that what we think worked really doesn't work, and it's many years and much public money has been spent as a consequence. Therefore, the problem really is how do we distill all this evidence that we have and make it available to people at the right time, at the right place. The problem is that researchers' incentives are around publishing. And therefore, there isn't much for them to look at opportunities to try and tailor the results of this research to be used at the right time. And therefore, we need a body of people who are digesting the results from experiments and from research and making it available at the right time, at the right place for both political activity and for administrative activity. So this intermediation continues to be a big problem in India. A global gathering is important for the use of evidence because different countries are at different levels of use of this. What seems to be very commonsensical and intuitive may not necessarily be what's the right thing to do. So understanding how other countries are using evidence, understanding what evidence is available from other countries so that we do not repeat the mistakes that others have done. So in that sense, it's important. The other is that we need to build a community of practice where we support each other in finding new ways in which we break both the administrative and political barriers around the use of evidence. This question of evidence, we are today located at the Royal Society. 300 years ago, they fought for evidence-based governance, right? And science, which had to contribute. And look at where we are 300 years after, we're still fighting the same battle. So we need to build a community of practice, people who support each other in this journey.